In the heart of a sleepy town, where the streets whisper tales of the past and the pace of life meanders like the nearby river, lies an unassuming diner. This diner, with its glowing neon sign that simply reads "Eat," serves as a beacon for both the weary traveler and the steadfast local. On this particular morning, as dawn breaks and casts a soft light on the town, the diner stands ready to play its part in a story that will soon unfold. As we enter, the aroma of fresh coffee envelops us, promising comfort and a moment to pause. The clink of dishes and the murmur of conversations create a symphony of everyday life. Regular patrons, each with their own story, are nestled in cozy booths or perched at the counter, their presence as integral to the diner as the aged photographs lining the walls. Among these locals sits a solitary figure, an elderly man named John, who quietly sips his coffee while reading the newspaper. His presence is almost as familiar as the diner itself, but today, his usual calm demeanor will be tested in ways none could anticipate. Imagine a quaint little diner nestled in the heart of a small town, a place where the pace of life is slow, and the townsfolk cherish their routines. The diner, with its retro 1950s decor, exudes a charming ambience that makes it a beloved hub in the community. It's early morning, and the sun casts a warm, golden glow through the large front windows, illuminating the well-worn booths and the shiny checkered flooring. As you step inside, you're greeted by the rich, robust aroma of freshly brewed coffee, a scent that promises warmth and a bit of respite from the brisk morning air. The sound of clinking dishes and the low hum of conversation blend into a familiar melody, the diner's daily soundtrack. Regulars occupy their favorite spots, engaged in quiet conversations or lost in the morning paper, creating a mosaic of local life. The diner's owner, a friendly middle-aged woman with an ever-present smile, moves effortlessly from table to table, topping off coffee cups and exchanging pleasantries with her customers. Her presence adds to the establishment's warm and inviting atmosphere, making everyone feel at home. At the counter, a line of stools hosts a variety of guests, a mix of locals known by name and visitors just passing through, drawn in by the diner's reputation for the best breakfast in miles. The grill sizzles in the background, the cook expertly flipping pancakes and eggs, the aroma mingling with the coffee to tantalize the taste buds. As the door chimes announce the arrival of new customers, the scene is set for an ordinary day at this small-town diner. But today is different. Today, the arrival of unexpected guests will turn this ordinary morning into an unforgettable one. This setting serves not just as a backdrop but as a character in its own right, framing the ensuing narrative. As the story unfolds, keep the imagery vivid, the descriptions rich, and the atmosphere palpable. The introduction of suspenseful music cues in the narration subtly builds tension, hinting at the unexpected events about to ripple through this tranquil setting. Amidst the bustling environment of the diner, there is one patron who appears almost a permanent fixture at his corner table. This is John, an elderly man with a dignified presence, marked by his neatly combed white hair and a face etched with lines that speak of a life filled with both hardships and triumphs. Seated quietly, he sips his black coffee, a stark contrast to the creamy, frothy concoctions preferred by some of the diner's younger visitors. In his hands, a worn newspaper rustles softly with each careful turn of the page. John's routine is a silent testament to his disciplined life, one that hints at military precision yet carries a serene calmness. His usual spot by the window offers him a view of the world outside and the comings and goings of the diner, a scene he watches with an observant but unobtrusive eye. However, the peaceful morning rhythm is abruptly disrupted when the diner door swings open with a force that makes the nearby curtains flutter. In stomp a group of bikers, clad in leather and denim, their heavy boots thudding against the wooden floor. They carry with them the chill of the outside air and a palpable shift in the diner's atmosphere. The leader of the pack, a burly man with tattoos snaking up his arms, leads the charge. His voice booms over the gentle murmur of the diner, calling out a raucous greeting that has a few patrons raising their eyebrows in disapproval. The group laughs heartily, their laughter echoing off the walls, as they make their way to a large table near the center of the room. Their presence is an immediate contrast to John's calm solitude. As they settle, their conversation loud and peppered with jests, they seem oblivious to the imposing figure of John, who, despite his quiet demeanor, exudes an air of authority that the bikers have yet to recognize. The tone here remains vivid and descriptive, painting a clear picture of the contrasting characters within this shared space. As the bikers' laughter and banter cut sharply through the diner's usual tranquility, the suspenseful music cues subtly rise, enhancing the tension that begins to simmer beneath the surface. This contrast not only sets the stage for the unfolding drama but also deepens the audience's engagement, drawing them into the impending clash of worlds between John and the bikers. As the bikers continue to settle into their surroundings, their behavior grows increasingly boisterous. They call out to the waitress with overly loud and overly familiar tones, demanding the heftiest meals on the menu and slamming their hands on the table in a show of camaraderie that resonates throughout the diner. Forks pause mid-air and coffee cups clink a little louder as other diners turn their heads, their meals momentarily forgotten. The leader of the bikers, a large man with a thick beard and eyes that gleam with mischief, catches sight of John. Perhaps it's John's undisturbed demeanor amidst the chaos, or maybe it's the solitary figure he cuts so different from the unity of the biker group. Either way, he becomes a target for the leader's need to assert dominance. "Hey, old man," the leader calls out across the diner, his voice dripping with a condescendence that turns several heads. "You got any stories to share? You look like you've seen a war or two." His gang chuckles, throwing glances at John, expecting him to be embarrassed or angry. John, however, merely shifts his eyes from his newspaper to meet the leader's gaze. He says nothing, offering only a slight nod before returning to his article. This reaction or lack thereof seems to only spur the bikers on. They exchange looks of amusement and disbelief at John's calm. The tension in the diner builds as the bikers escalate their efforts to disturb the peace. They make snide remarks about the diner's decor, loud enough for everyone to hear, and comment on the supposed dullness of town life. All the while, John remains an island of serenity in the growing storm, his every calm sip of coffee and turn of the newspaper page a silent rebuke to the chaos around him. Subtle hints of John's storied past begin to weave into the narrative. As he moves to adjust his jacket, a military pin glints briefly on his lapel, catching the light and the keen eyes of a few observant patrons. His forearm reveals a faint tattoo, perhaps a remnant of a younger, wilder time spent in far-off lands under harsh conditions, a badge of honor from his days as a Green Beret. Though none in the diner besides John know this yet, the bikers, sensing a challenge in John's silence, push further, raising their voices and throwing in pointed questions about John's past, his family and his life choices. Each provocation is designed to unravel the quiet man in the corner, yet John's responses are measured, almost non-existent, his stoicism a wall they cannot seem to breach. The narrative style here remains deeply immersive, drawing the audience into the thickening atmosphere of the diner. Each description and dialogue is crafted to heighten the tension, pulling viewers deeper into the unfolding drama, hinting at the undercurrents of John's past military life and the impending clash that these hints suggest. The interaction between the bikers and John sets the stage for a dramatic escalation, with each side poised at the brink of a confrontation that will test their mettle and reveal their true characters. As the morning progresses, the bikers' intrusions escalate, each act more provocative than the last. The diner's cozy atmosphere is steadily eroded by their raucous behavior. They lean over the counter, joking loudly with the waitress, who smiles nervously, trying to maintain her composure under their intense, scrutinizing gazes. Plates of food arrive, and the bikers eat messily, their laughter and crude jokes filling the space. The leader, still keen on drawing a reaction from John, orchestrates their most daring act yet. Pretending to stretch his legs, he saunters over to John's table. With a feigned clumsiness, he bumps into John's table, jostling it just enough to tip John's coffee cup. The dark liquid spills across the table, some of it splashing onto John's newspaper and trousers. "Oh, look at that. Clumsy me," the leader bellows, his voice thick with mock apology. The other bikers snicker, watching eagerly for John's response. The diner falls into a tense silence, patrons turning to witness how this confrontation will unfold. John sets his now soaked newspaper aside, his expression unreadable. He stands, his movements deliberate and slow. The diner's other patrons watch, breath held, as John walks to the counter, asks for a cloth, and begins to calmly wipe the spilled coffee from his table and clothes. His silence is louder than the bikers' laughter, his dignity in sharp contrast to their disrespect. Undeterred, the bikers continue to taunt John, mocking his age and the quiet life he leads. "What's the matter, Grandpa? Life got too slow for you after the war." One of the younger bikers calls out, leaning back in his chair with a grin. Throughout this escalation, subtle hints continue to surface about John's military past. The camera, while focusing on John cleaning up, captures the detail of another tattoo, a unit insignia perhaps on his other arm, not previously visible. His jacket, now slightly askew from the cleaning efforts, reveals a row of ribbons and a faded name patch, glimpses of a storied life of service. Despite the bikers' provocations, John's response remains measured, his face a mask of stoic calm that belies the sharp observance in his eyes. He returns to his seat, fixing the bikers with a steady, unflinching gaze that finally causes some of their smirks to falter. The tension in the diner climbs to a palpable level, the air thick with anticipation and the heavy scent of spilled coffee. The narrative remains immersive, drawing the audience deeper into the emotional landscape of the scene, feeling every slight and hearing each taunt, as if seated at the next table. This detailed depiction not only builds the tension but also aligns perfectly with the unfolding narrative, setting the stage for a significant turn in the interaction between John and the bikers. Despite the escalating provocations, John maintains an extraordinary level of composure. After cleaning up the spill and resettling into his seat, he simply picks up a fresh napkin, folds it with precise movements, and dabs at the remaining drops of coffee on his trousers. His face, an impassive mask, gives nothing away. He doesn't glare at the bikers, nor does he offer them the confrontation they seem to be seeking. Instead, John returns to his position by the window, his back slightly turned towards the bikers, signaling a deliberate dismissal. He reaches into his jacket and pulls out a small, well-worn book instead of another newspaper, perhaps a collection of poetry or a military manual, hinting further at the depths of his character. This quiet defiance seems to puzzle the bikers. Their laughter, which had filled the diner just moments before, starts to die down as they exchange uncertain glances. "What's with this guy?" one mutters under his breath to another, unable to provoke the old soldier into an outburst as they had hoped. At this point, the narrative pauses, and the voiceover poses a question to the viewers, adding an engaging, interactive element to the unfolding drama. What would you do in this situation? Would you confront the disruptors, or would you, like John, remain an emblem of restraint? The tension continues to build as the bikers, now somewhat confused by John's lack of reaction, push their chairs back and stand. They approach John once more, this time with a different tactic, perhaps a direct confrontation. John, aware of their approach, calmly places a bookmark in his book and looks up, meeting their eyes with a steady, unnerving gaze that speaks of his extensive experience in handling far more dangerous situations. In these moments, more glimpses of John's military past become visible. The cap resting next to him on the booth has a faded emblem, possibly from a special forces group, and the book he's reading bears a military insignia on its cover. These subtle hints not only enrich the backstory but also elevate the tension, suggesting the depth of John's resolve and strength. As the bikers loom over him, the diner's atmosphere thickens with anticipation. The other diners watch silently, captivated by the unfolding scene, wondering if this quiet storm will break into a tempest. This section, rich with detailed descriptions and emotional undertones, continues to pull the audience deeper into the narrative, keeping them hooked on every word and gesture, eager to see how this standoff will resolve. As the tension in the diner reaches its peak, the bikers, fueled by a mix of curiosity and frustration, converge on John. The leader, emboldened by his gang's support, leans in close, his face a mask of mock concern tinged with a challenge. "You got something to say, old man? You've been awfully quiet over here with your little book. Don't you know how to have fun?" John closes his book gently and places it on the table. He rises slowly and deliberately from his seat. As he stands, it becomes apparent that his stature nearly matches that of the biker leader both in height and presence. The diner grows even quieter. The only sounds are the soft hum of the overhead lights and the distant clatter of a fork dropped in surprise. Clearing his throat, John's voice, when he speaks, is unexpectedly powerful, resonating with the depth and command of a seasoned soldier. "Fun is not what I was looking for when I came in here today," he begins, his tone even but firm. "I came here for some peace, a quiet meal, and reflection. But it seems even those simple pleasures are too much to ask for in the company of those who respect neither age nor tranquility." The bikers falter, taken aback by John's resonant tone and authoritative demeanor. He continues, "I've spent a good part of my life in service to my country, in places you've only read about in stories of war and heroism. My years have taught me the value of respect, something sorely lacking here today." As John speaks, his voice grows stronger, filled with the emotional weight of his experiences. His eyes, which have seen both the horrors of war and the beauty of peace, lock onto those of the biker leader. Respect is earned on battlefields and in everyday actions like how we treat strangers. "I stood where you stand, young man, full of vigor and pride. But time teaches us the depth of our ignorance." The bikers shuffle uncomfortably, their earlier bravado fading under John's intense scrutiny, and the moral gravity of his words. The other diners, previously just silent observers, now lean forward, captivated by the unfolding drama and the raw honesty in John's voice. John's monologue peaks as he reflects on his values, forged in the heat of battle and cooled in the calm of his later years. Honor, courage, and commitment, these are not just words but principles that guide the lives of those who know their weight. You came here today to find amusement at another's expense. But I ask you, where is the honor in that? As he concludes, the diner is enveloped in a charged silence, the impact of his words hanging heavy in the air. This climactic moment is not just a confrontation but a profound teaching moment, meant to captivate and inspire the audience by showcasing the depth of character that true experience can bring. The dialogue, rich with emotion and moral weight, transforms this climax into a powerful narrative turning point, highlighting themes of respect, understanding, and the true meaning of strength. John's commanding presence now fully captures the attention of everyone in the diner. As the last echoes of his words about honor and respect fade, he takes a deep breath, and his gaze sweeps across the faces of the patrons and the bikers. The silence is palpable, broken only by the soft ticking of the clock on the wall. In this moment of quiet, John begins to reveal more about his past, his voice carrying a mix of solemnity and pride. "I served as a Green Beret," he states simply, the weight of this revelation sinking in among the listeners. It was more than a job. It was a commitment to live by a code that values respect, duty, and honor above all else. The diner remains silent, the patrons hanging on every word. John's eyes reflect the memories of years spent in service as he continues, "In the military, we learn to face not just external enemies but also to confront our own fears and prejudices. We fight not for the glory of battle but for the peace that follows, for the chance to return home and live quietly among those we fought to protect." The intensity in John's voice grows as he addresses the bikers directly, his tone both challenging and educational. "Being a Green Beret taught me about the strength it takes to uphold these values, even when they are tested in the most trying times. Respect and honor are not merely given, they are earned, through actions and through understanding." As he speaks, John's demeanor embodies the very principles he describes. His stature, though aged, does not bow under the invisible weight of his service medals and memories. Instead, it lends him an aura of undeniable authority and respect. Today, John pauses, his gaze intensifying. You have a choice. To continue on a path that seeks amusement at the expense of others, or to choose a higher road, one that leads to respect and mutual understanding. The climax of his monologue is a powerful call to action, not just to the bikers but to all who are listening. He challenges each person in the diner to reflect on their own lives and the values they embody in their daily actions. John's speech resonates deeply, leaving a lasting impact on everyone present. His words are not just heard, they are felt, provoking thoughts about personal honor and the real meaning of strength. This moment, rich with emotional and moral weight, not only captivates the audience but also inspires a profound respect for John, revealing the depth of his character and the life he has led. It's a peek in the narrative that transforms the entire atmosphere of the diner, turning an ordinary morning into a scene of introspection and revelation. As John's words linger in the air, a visible transformation occurs among the bikers. Their faces, previously marked by jest and provocation, now show a mixture of introspection and surprise. They glance at each other, their earlier bravado replaced by a quiet reflection. The change is most apparent in the leader, whose demeanor softens, his eyes widening as he absorbs the gravity of John's revelations. The leader steps forward, his movements hesitant as if he is physically unlearning his earlier aggression. He stops a short distance from John, standing in a posture that speaks of respect rather than confrontation. His voice, when he finally speaks, carries a tone markedly different from before, sober, sincere, and tinged with regret. I didn't realize," he begins, his voice faltering as he struggles to find the right words. "We just came in here looking for a laugh, not to. I'm sorry for crossing the line." His head bows slightly, acknowledging his fault, and when he looks up again, his expression is earnest. "Thank you for reminding us what matters. I can see we've got a lot to think about." The other bikers nod in agreement, their faces reflecting a newfound respect, not only for John but perhaps for the principles he stands for. They murmur apologies of their own, their tones subdued and respectful. The leader turns back to his group, signaling them with a look that things are going to change. In the diner, the atmosphere shifts palpably. The other patrons, who had watched the scene unfold with bated breath, now let out quiet sighs of relief and admiration. Conversations resume, but the tone throughout the diner is altered, softer, more thoughtful. John, observing the bikers' genuine remorse and their leader's public acknowledgement of fault, gives a slight nod of acceptance. His face, stern yet satisfied with their response, softens into a gentle smile. It's clear that his goal was not to shame or defeat, but to educate and remind lessons evidently taken to heart by the bikers. This climactic interaction does not just resolve the tension, it transforms it into an opportunity for growth and understanding. The emotional weight of the dialogue and the profound shifts in attitude enrich the narrative, providing a compelling climax that reinforces themes of respect, redemption, and the impact of living by one's values. This scene serves as a powerful reminder that respect can bridge divides, and that true strength often lies in the grace of forgiveness and the courage to admit one's mistakes. In a gesture that marks their sincere regret and a desire to make amends, the bikers take an unexpected step. The leader approaches the counter, speaking quietly to the waitress. Moments later, she announces that the bikers have covered the cost of meals for everyone in the diner. This act of generosity sends a ripple of murmurs through the room, as patrons look on with a mixture of surprise and newfound respect. John watches this unfold, his eyes reflecting the change in the atmosphere from tension to reconciliation. Encouraged by their gesture, he invites the bikers to join him at his table. Reluctantly at first, but with increasing ease they gather around, pulling chairs and making room. The air around the table feels lighter, almost buoyant, as barriers dissolve under the influence of genuine remorse and forgiveness. As they settle in, the conversation tentatively begins with the bikers asking John about his service, genuinely interested in hearing about the places and experiences he alludes to in his monologue. John, in turn, shows a willingness to share, opening up about his years in the military, the camaraderie, the challenges, and the lessons learned. Each story he tells weaves a richer tapestry of his life, and the bikers listen, captivated by the narratives that are as educational as they are inspiring. The bikers share stories of their own roads traveled, friendships forged, and the wild freedom found on two wheels. There's laughter now, but it's of a different kind, respectful and shared, bonding the group in their mutual love for storytelling. John listens, nodding and smiling, the lines on his face softening as he finds common ground with these unlikely companions. The conclusion of this encounter is warm and uplifting. The transformation of the bikers, sparked by John's wisdom and their subsequent actions, brings a harmonious resolution to the diner's disrupted morning. The diner's owner, observing the change, smiles broadly, her earlier anxiety replaced by relief and a bit of wonder at the unexpected turn of events. This final scene encapsulates the transformative power of understanding and respect. It's a celebration of human connection across seemingly insurmountable differences, illustrating that respect and kindness can indeed lead to meaningful change. The conclusion leaves the audience with a sense of closure and a positive reflection on the values discussed, encouraging them to consider how these themes apply to their own lives. The narrative closes on a hopeful note, suggesting that every moment of conflict presents an opportunity for growth and reconciliation, inviting viewers to reflect on their encounters and the choices they make in their interactions. As the laughter and shared stories begin to ebb, John takes a moment to reflect on the day's events. The din around him fades into a backdrop as he addresses both his new acquaintances and the silent onlookers, his voice infused with a reflective calmness. Today, he starts, his eyes scanning the faces around him, reminds us of the power of understanding and the strength it takes to really see someone not as we assume they are but as they truly might be. He leans back, his gaze thoughtful, and continues, "It's easy to judge based on first impressions. It's much harder but also more rewarding to remain open to the surprises people can bring into our lives." His words resonate, leaving a palpable impact on everyone listening, encouraging a deeper self-examination. The warmth in John's tone carries a powerful message of courage, the courage to confront one's own prejudices and to extend kindness even when faced with hostility. He emphasizes that this doesn't just apply in the face of overt conflict, but in everyday interactions. "Each of you," John says, turning his attention back to the bikers and then to the other diners, has the power to transform a potentially negative encounter into a bridge-building moment. As his reflections draw to a close, John reaches out to all present with a poignant invitation. "Think about the last time you judged someone too quickly," he suggests, inviting everyone to introspect on their own actions and perceptions. The moment concludes with John's final, compelling question that extends a challenge to everyone within earshot, leaving them with a cliffhanger that encourages personal reflection. Have you ever misjudged someone only to be surprised by their true character? This reflective ending not only encapsulates the day's lessons but also acts as a call to action, urging everyone to contemplate their own judgments and to embrace respect and kindness as guiding principles in their interactions. The tone remains warm and uplifting, emphasizing the positive change that understanding and empathy can foster, and leaving room for everyone to engage with the narrative and apply its messages in their own lives. This conclusion serves not only to wrap up the events of the day but to inspire a continuation of reflection and personal growth in everyone who hears it. As the day's events draw to a close, the story's moral resonates clearly through the diner. John, a figure of composure and respect amidst chaos, emerges not only as a veteran but as a teacher of vital life principles. His encounter with the bikers, which began with conflict, transformed into a profound lesson in understanding and respect. John's response to the disruptions, a testament to restraint and dignity, revealed his rich background as a retired Green Beret and the core values that guided his service: respect, duty, and honor. His measured words and calm demeanor shifted the mood from one of confrontation to one of reflection, compelling the bikers to reconsider their behavior and choose a path of reconciliation. The narrative highlights their subsequent gesture of covering the meals of all present not only served as an apology but also as a symbol of their newfound respect. This act of kindness resonated deeply, turning a moment of potential discord into one of community unity and mutual understanding. The warmth in John's tone carries a powerful message of courage, the courage to confront one's own prejudices and to extend kindness even when faced with hostility. He emphasizes that this doesn't just apply in the face of overt conflict, but in everyday interactions. Each of you, John says, turning his attention back to the bikers and then to the other diners, has the power to transform a potentially negative encounter into a bridge-building moment. As his reflections draw to a close, John reaches out to all present with a poignant invitation. Think about the last time you judged someone too quickly, he suggests, inviting everyone to introspect on their own actions and perceptions. The moment concludes with John's final, compelling question that extends a challenge to everyone within earshot, leaving them with a cliffhanger that encourages personal reflection. Have you ever misjudged someone only to be surprised by their true character? This reflective ending not only encapsulates the day's lessons but also acts as a call to action, urging everyone to contemplate their own judgments and to embrace respect and kindness as guiding principles in their interactions. The tone remains warm and uplifting, emphasizing the positive change that understanding and empathy can foster, and leaving room for everyone to engage with the narrative and apply its messages in their own lives. This conclusion serves not only to wrap up the events of the day, but to inspire a continuation of reflection and personal growth in everyone who hears it. This summation underscores the significant impact of patience and the courage to maintain one's principles in challenging situations. It showcases how true strength is not demonstrated through dominance, but through the ability to inspire and affect change, illustrating the profound influence that one individual's integrity and respect can have on a community. As the day's events draw to a close, the story's moral resonates clearly through the diner. John, a figure of composure and respect amidst chaos, emerges not only as a veteran but as a teacher of vital life principles. His encounter with the bikers, which began with conflict, transformed into a profound lesson in understanding and respect. John's response to the disruptions, a testament to restraint and dignity, revealed his rich background as a retired Green Beret and the core values that guided his service: respect, duty, and honor. His measured words and calm demeanor shifted the mood from one of confrontation to one of reflection, compelling the bikers to reconsider their behavior and choose a path of reconciliation. The narrative highlights their subsequent gesture of covering the meals of all present not only served as an apology, but also as a symbol of their newfound respect. This act of kindness resonated deeply, turning a moment of potential discord into one of community unity and mutual understanding. The warmth in John's tone carries a powerful message of courage, the courage to confront one's own prejudices and to extend kindness even when faced with hostility. He emphasizes that this doesn't just apply in the face of overt conflict but in everyday interactions. Each of you, John says, turning his attention back to the bikers and then to the other diners, has the power to transform a potentially negative encounter into a bridge-building moment. As his reflections draw to a close, John reaches out to all present with a poignant invitation. Think about the last time you judged someone too quickly, he suggests, inviting everyone to introspect on their own actions and perceptions. The moment concludes with John's final, compelling question that extends a challenge to everyone within earshot, leaving them with a cliffhanger that encourages personal reflection. Have you ever misjudged someone only to be surprised by their true character? This reflective ending not only encapsulates the day's lessons but also acts as a call to action, urging everyone to contemplate their own judgments and to embrace respect and kindness as guiding principles in their interactions. The tone remains warm and uplifting, emphasizing the positive change that understanding and empathy can foster, and leaving room for everyone to engage with the narrative and apply its messages in their own lives. This conclusion serves not only to wrap up the events of the day but to inspire a continuation of reflection and personal growth in everyone who hears it. Think back to a time when you witnessed or displayed unexpected courage. How did it change the situation? Were there moments when an initial judgment was proven wrong? We invite you to share these stories in the comments below, creating a space for collective learning and inspiration. The narrative continues, keeping the audience engaged and looking forward to more enriching content. For more stories like John's, where everyday moments turn into lessons of profound wisdom, make sure to subscribe and like. Stay tuned for upcoming stories that continue to explore the themes of respect, courage, and the surprising depth of human character. This engagement booster serves to not only maintain the immersive narrative style, but also to transition smoothly into direct interaction with the audience, fostering a community of shared values and experiences. It invites active participation and anticipation for future narratives, ensuring that the messages of today's story resonate beyond the immediate conclusion and into the lives of the audience.